מדברים אמזון, הפודקאסט שמקלף את שכבות העולם הסבוך של אמזון, עם עמית רוזנטל ואלי ונטורה, שני יזמים ותיקים ומנוסים בעולם האי-קומרס. בואו נצא לדרך.
ברוכים הבאים לפרק מספר 75 של הפודקאסט מדברים אמזון. בונה, זה חתיכת יובל, מחתונת זהב, חתונת פלטינה.
כל פעם זה מפתיע אותי מחדש הקטע.
אני אלי ונטורה, עמית רוזנטל איתי כבר שנתיים, ואני מזכיר שאפשר לשמוע אותנו בספוטיפיי, אפל פודקאסט, גוגל פודקאסט, ולראות אותנו גם ביוטיוב, ולטובת המאורע, יש לנו היום אורח מאוד 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 מיוחד, פרק הוא לא יהיה באנגלית. עמית, ספר לנו במה זכינו.
מה המצב אלי לפני הכל?
המצב מעולה, הכל מעולה.
אז נעבור לאנגלית. So today we have one of the greatest mind in the industry, great friend of mine as well. Serial entrepreneur, been that, done that, and keep doing that, by the way, for those who doesn't know. I'm pleased and honored to welcome Ben Leonard. Ben, welcome to our show.
Thanks, Amit, and it's great to be here with both of you. I'm tremendously honored to be on the show. Thanks.
Great. So first, as Amit said, thank you for taking the time to record with us. And I want you please to take us a journey back on time, about a half year before you start your Amazon journey. What are you doing these days? How old are you? And what motivates you to enter Amazon?
Sure, yeah. Well, about half a year before I got started in e-commerce, I was just living the 9-to-5 life of what so many people do, working in an office. I'm from a small city in the northeast of Scotland called Aberdeen, probably 125,000 people. But it's the oil industry city of Europe, really. And like so many people around here, I ended up working in that industry. I'm not an engineer, I'm actually an ecologist originally. So my job was to help oil companies get greener and stay within the environmental regulations. And I quite liked my job. I didn't like some parts of it. I did like other parts of it. But it wasn't really lighting me up that much, right? And then something happened. I got very, very sick. And I was forced into stopping all work and stopping, well, pretty much everything whilst I recovered. And it was during that time, and we can dig into this if you want, that I had my idea to start my business, and that was the catalyst that kind of changed the course of my life.
Did you get sick because of the 9-to-5 work? Because of the oil industry?
Who knows? It may have played a part. Let me explain. Late one night in 2016, it was the middle of the night. I woke up with severe chest pains.
Wow.
And I was only 27. But I'd had pains like these before. I'd actually previously twice had a temporary heart condition called pericarditis, which is relatively common in men in their 20s and 30s. Like a hospital in a city will see several cases a year. Like it's kind of normal, but usually it goes away after a while. But this was the third time I'd had it. And I got taken by ambulance to a hospital, and they confirmed that it was pericarditis again. And it usually goes away, but if it keeps coming back, there's a risk that it will come back forever and dramatically change your life. So they said, right, we need to throw everything at this. So they gave me a cocktail of strong drugs. They signed me off of work and told me to stop all my fitness hobbies whilst I got better. And they say that it can be caused by stress, but it can also be caused by viruses. They don't really know. Maybe it was stress. But I've been incredibly stressed at times in my life since then, and it hasn't come back. So maybe it was a virus. I just don't know. We'll probably never know.
Yeah.
But that is the thing that kicked me into action, because I was bored. I needed something to do, and I had this idea 4 years before. In 2012, I actually had my idea for my business, but I did nothing. I took no action. It was only when I got really ill and I was sitting on my sofa doing nothing that I decided to try and create this fitness brand really just as a hobby. And then it turned out I was quite good at it.
But Ben, why specific on Amazon and not to be just, I don't know, a retailer in UK or England or
Sure. Well, actually, the whole Amazon thing didn't come to me till after I started. So a lot of people, they start selling on Amazon because they want to make some money. I started building a brand. And at that time, when I started developing my first product, my plan was to sell my products directly into gyms and maybe go to retail.
Mm-hmm.
It was while I was developing my first product that I discovered that there was this thing called third-party selling on Amazon and another thing called FBA, Fulfilled by Amazon, where they do all the picking, the packing, the fulfillment for you. I was one of those people that thought that when you bought something on Amazon, you were buying it from Jeff Bezos. Mm-hmm. And so it was only as I was developing that product, I realized, oh, I could do that. And also there's this cool thing called Shopify that means idiots like me can build a website. So that's when the light bulb went off and I realized how I could reach lots more people just like me who were fitness fans and wanted high quality equipment at a fair price, that I could actually market my products to them through Amazon and my own website rather than trying to sell into gyms. So for me, it was always brand first and Amazon was always just a sales channel.
Did you start in Amazon UK?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. And sometimes, Ellie, people ask me why I did that. To which I say, because they're like, well, Amazon US was such a bigger market. And I say, you're absolutely right. And looking back, if I could have started in the US, I probably would. But you got to remember that I had no business experience. I was testing the waters in a new venture that was a significant risk for me. I was putting basically all my money into it. And it felt natural. Like, I'm in the UK. I thought I'll sell these into gyms in the UK. And then I thought, oh, well, actually, I'll sell it on Amazon in the UK. It just seemed normal. And I don't regret starting on Amazon in the UK, but I do regret not going to the US much, much quicker. I actually never took my products to the US. It was after I sold the brand, the new owner did. And so that's why
crazy. That's crazy. Like
it is kind of crazy.
Right.
Let me explain. We started in the UK and then we went to Europe. And then we were doing a little bit on Australia and the Middle East when I sold the brand. And when I sold it, we were doing $6 million in annual sales. To be honest, if I'd taken the brand to the US about a year before I sold it, I think we would easily have been doing $12 million a year in annual sales with like no additional effort.
Right.
Which is one of the reasons when I don't like all the flexing that people do about numbers. I hear people saying, oh, I'm an 8-figure seller. And I'm like, okay, you might be doing $12 million or $50 million, but you're probably no better a business person than me. It's just that there's elements of luck there, or you happen to have a larger market.
Okay, so let's get back to the beginning.
Sure.
Are you a product developer, product designer?
I'm a practitioner. So okay. I believe in working with experts. So let me put it this way. I have ideas and visions, and then I work with experts to make them a reality. So for example,
do what you do best, outsource the rest.
Absolutely right. Yeah, totally. And like, so I will have an idea for a product and I will put together my pretty crappy ideas and drawings, and I'll take them to professional product designers and they will help me do the rest. Just like I will get a professional photographer to take my product photos, right? Because I'm not a photographer, or whatever it might be.
Okay. And then you took it first thing to Amazon, or you tried to do it with the gyms and wholesale, retail, etc.?
Yeah, I did try to sell into some gyms, not very successfully. And I launched my website, not successfully, and I got on Amazon. And that's where things kind of kicked off. And the reason for that is I started on Amazon in 2016 and everybody else was just trying to sell stuff, slap a logo on it. But I was building a brand. This was even before like Amazon cares about brand now, but then they didn't really. They were kind of starting with like brand registry, but they still didn't really care about brand.
Especially in the UK.
Especially in the UK. So the reason I started to crush it on Amazon was I was treating my business like a real brand and treating my customers with respect and giving them a real experience so that they came back to me to buy more products. But my competitors weren't doing that. They were just trying to sell stuff. So that's how I won there. And then, so I acquired the customers on Amazon, but I built the relationship with them outside of Amazon. And that's when they would really become a fan of my brand on Instagram, YouTube, buying from our website, reading our emails, all that stuff.
So you give them content, you give them value more than just a product with a brand, with a, it's a sticker.
So Eddie, let's try maybe to elaborate on that. So Ben, maybe like, I don't know if you want to talk about like, you know what I'm talking about, that you gave us to read. But one of the points there was like a lot about like, how is it or what is the steps in order to build a brand? Maybe you can elaborate a little bit more about what was your vision in terms of building a brand and what is the difference between building a brand and having maybe someone that think he has a brand but really doesn't.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are lots of definitions of a brand and many of them are right, but here's what I like. I think a brand is a group of products that solves problems for a particular group of people. That could be scuba divers. Or
let's say it again. It's super important.
A brand is a group of products that solves problems for a particular group of people.
Amazing.
So that could be scuba divers or it could be dentists, right? Whatever. Can be to do with a hobby, can be to do with a profession. Doesn't matter. Branding is how you make people feel about your brand. And you do that through a variety of things. Yes, your name matters, your logo matters, but what also matters is the helpful, compelling, engaging, useful, free, valuable content that you provide them. It is the experience they have before, during, and after they buy from you. And it is how you market to them. And so that leads us to marketing, and marketing is how you tell people about your brand. And the reason that matters is a lot of people will have like a fantastic brand and fantastic branding in theory, but their marketing's rubbish. And so if your marketing's terrible, your brand might as well does not exist. It's kind of like if a tree falls over in a forest and there's no one there to hear it, doesn't make a noise. If you have a fantastic brand, but your marketing's terrible and you don't connect with people, your brand might as well not exist. And what I'm getting at here is, again, why I won on Amazon, because there were other organizations, other brands who were making a good, half decent effort at branding, but all they were doing was making a cool logo and some cool photographs on Amazon. They weren't actually communicating with their customers by giving them a relationship outside of Amazon. They weren't giving them all that content, and they weren't marketing to them in a way that makes sense for their audience. And when you understand your audience, when you understand what scuba divers want, you can market to them in a way that gives them what they want. And that's what really matters, I think.
That was a super important part, but I want to challenge you. As you know, Amazon...
Love a challenge.
Amazon legally don't allow us to contact the customers and build a relationship. They tell us, you know, this is my customer, not yours.
Yep.
I am selling a product. It is paying me. You're just selling a product on my platform.
Sure.
So yes, I know everyone doing product insert. Everyone do it.
Yeah. Okay. So challenge accepted. Let's look at this in two ways. First of all, let's imagine that you're super paranoid about Amazon terms of service, and you want to do nothing that could in any way be considered to be against terms of service. So, you know, you sell them the product and there's nothing inside there except for the product. Well, first, I would say that's a pretty poor experience for the customer, but let's just say you're doing that. If you have created a very high quality product and you've already given them excellent material on Amazon, which is converted. Obviously, it's converted because they bought from you. Then at the very least, you will be building brand awareness, which makes them interested in your brand and they'll go and look it up elsewhere. If you've given them a fantastic quality product is actually marketing, believe it or not. It's not just product, but product is marketing. A quality product markets itself. You'll tell people about it. You'll post it on Instagram and TikTok. Somebody will ask you about it when they see it at the knitting club or in the gym or at the swimming pool or with your baby at the toddler group, whatever it is. That is marketing. But so many people they're just trying to make a quick buck by selling random nonsense. So their marketing fails with the first step because the product is not good quality. So from that point of view, you can still build a relationship with your customer. But now let's pretend that you're not paranoid about terms of service. In my opinion, it is not against terms of service to use inserts because if I buy an iPhone on Amazon, the box that it comes in is covered in the Apple URL. It's covered in things telling me that Apple is on Instagram. The warranty information and the user guide is full of email addresses and URLs telling me where I can get more support. And the only difference between me and Apple is scale. Terms of service apply to everybody. Amazon is just a sales channel. That's all it is. Also, I would argue that providing this kind of information in your packaging or inserts is improving the customer experience, and that's what Amazon wants. So long as you're not completely overtly saying, you know the stuff that says like, if you're not happy, email us. If you're happy, leave a review. That's against terms of service. But encouraging your customers to register a warranty, to post their products on social media, all of these things is improving the experience. And then it's giving you touch points where you can contact the customer later. For example, I love to contact customers on DMs and social media and build relationships there. And you can do that at scale. You just build systems and processes and give it to a team.
Using ManyChat?
You can use ManyChat. I'm a big fan of actually literally when people post about my brand on social, I literally DM them about it and have a conversation and then probably ask for a review. I just presented about this recently at a conference in Estonia and also in London. And it never ceases to amaze me that people still aren't doing this very basic stuff of building relationships with customers. I was presenting this and people were looking at me like I was from another planet. And I'm like, I've been doing this since 2016. Like, it's pretty normal. So yeah, I would say that Amazon can absolutely be used as like a top of funnel piece to A, build brand awareness, but B, acquire customers and then build a relationship with them. And you can do it without breaking terms of service. And also people have to remember that in terms of service, Amazon have got really big fish to fry, right? They're dealing with Chinese black hatters doing tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in sales because of really advanced, dirty black hat strategies. They're not really that interested if Sally from Minnesota is asking people to tag her knitting brand on Instagram.
Yeah. I'm jumping to the next phase, next step of the story for a bit. But do you think that building a brand, building an audience, building a community around your brand helps you with your multiple in your exit?
Yeah, I do. Absolutely. It's a question I get reasonably often. So sure, you cannot say, okay, our Instagram audience of 10,000 people is worth X. But what you can say is that that Instagram audience and our other social media audiences and the 5 million views on YouTube has contributed to the flywheel, has contributed to the growth, has contributed to the sales and profitability. And without it, the business, literally the numbers wouldn't be there. So 100% that made a difference. But also, the buyer is not buying your historical sales, they're buying the future.
Yeah.
And building that audience for them, which is a self-growing audience, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. You're building growth for them. So yeah, 100% it contributed to the deal and it contributed to showing the buyer what the future had in store.
Okay. So let's get back to your journey.
Sure.
You decided to build a brand, not just a generic product. By the way, we had many sellers on the podcast, and there are two different ways to sell on Amazon. Your way to build a brand. Actually, it's my way as well. I built a smaller brand, but a brand as well. And the people, they say, okay, I'm selling what sold. What I can know, I can make ROI positive. If I can make ROI positive, I will do it. If I don't, I won't. I don't care if I can relate it to a brand or not. That's two different seller approach. They're both right.
Yeah, to an extent, right? Yeah. Here's the thing. I cannot deny that you can have an Amazon account that sells a mishmash of stuff that generates profit. I can't deny it. It's true. I see it every day. People come to my brokerage firm with these businesses. But what I can tell you is that your ability to sell a business like that is considerably different now than it was 2 years ago.
Agree.
Your ability to sell it for a good multiple, and indeed your ability to sell it at all, is very different. And I would say if you have talent in making, let's take Amazon, making Amazon work, then put that talent to use in building a brand around which you're passionate, and you will, for the same amount of effort that you'll put into just, no, not for the same amount of effort, not going to lie, it's more effort, but the outcome that you will get is extraordinarily more attractive when you build a brand. And you're going to enjoy it more because it's going to be something you're passionate about.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if I tell you, but I'm working with an FBA aggregator as a VP of acquisitions. As you said, I look and I see many accounts, and I totally agree. When an account is very constructed to one niche, one brand, two brands, but I know what I can do with it. Yeah, it's much better for us.
Yeah, I mean, totally. I can give you an example. Relatively recently, we had two brands, both going to market at around about the same time, both selling virtually the same stuff, but one had a strong brand identity and the other one did not. The one with the strong brand identity had a tribe of fans ready to buy all their stuff. They were providing all this amazing content. It looked and felt and behaved like a real consumer packaged goods brand that people get passionate about. And the other one did not. They were just widgets on Amazon. They both had approximately the same SDE. One of them sold for in the region of 5x, and one of them sold for the region of 3x. And at the time of the deal, the difference was something like $1 million, which that in itself is enormous. But actually then, if you put that $1 million in a low to medium risk stocks and shares portfolio that grows at, let's just say 7%, then after 5 years, it's going to be worth way more, something like $1.25 million. And after 10 years, it's going to be worth something like $1.5 million. So it's not just what you're getting now that matters, but it's the compounding effect of that through into the future.
Yeah. Okay, so you started in 2016. How many products did you initially produce?
The first product was SKUs? The first there was one SKU to begin with.
One SKU.
It was a jump rope, and I launched that because when I was sick, I was tidying out my gym bag, and I was looking at all the training gear that I couldn't use, and I looked at my jump rope and I thought, well, I could do this better. This part isn't that good, and actually it doesn't spin the way that it should, and I could improve this bit. And so I was developing that product to begin with, and then over time I launched more and more products that would make sense for my audience. So we had products for weightlifters and CrossFitters, for general fitness fans and conditioning fans like that go to the gym. And we had equipment for people who are into boxing and combat sports. And so by the time I sold the business, there was probably in the region of 15 parent products with a variety of variations underneath in size and color.
Did you differentiate each brand?
No, the whole thing was
boxing
one brand. The whole thing was Beast Gear. But beneath that, we had like all of the jump ropes, for example, were under were beast ropes, right? So you had like the beast rope pro, the beast rope elite, the beast rope fire. The knee sleeves for weightlifters were called beast sleeves. We had the beast sleeves pro. And then I developed and patented a product called beast grips, which was a type of thick dumbbell adapter. And actually a huge company tried to sue me and I won because they alleged that I infringed on their patent and I didn't. And that was good fun. But yeah, the overall brand was called Beast Gear.
Ben, do you use like the community you're building around the brand in order to have like ideas for new products?
Actually, in a way, yeah.
Because eventually they are like your buyers eventually.
Yeah,
so
totally.
You can get the best ideas from your customers eventually.
You're absolutely right. I mean, that wasn't the initial reason for engaging with my customers, but absolutely, I would have customers come to me and they would say, would you make this? Or could you, I've been using this by this other brand, but it's not that good and you could make it better by doing this. And actually, a few times that fed into the kind of products that we developed. Yeah, for sure.
I think listen to your customer should be the first priority for every business owner to know what's going on.
It's not even difficult. You know, here, like for example, it's not difficult to ask your customers questions. Here's one thing that I used to do. So we would get customers from Amazon and then they'd land on our website because they would see the URLs, right? And they'd land on our website and they'd give us their email address because there was a pop-up that said get 10% off. But not everyone would buy, right? So we had all these people, we had their email address, but they hadn't bought from us yet. But because we sold sort of 3 different subcategories of product, we had strength, we had boxing, and we had conditioning. I wanted to know what they wanted to hear about. Because every week I would send, on different days, I would send automatic emails providing value to my customers. I would send emails about boxing on one day, strength on another day, and CrossFit on another day. Right. But I did not want to send a strength training email to a boxing fan because it would go into they delete it, they would put me in the spam folder. Yeah. Exactly. And then all my emails are going to end up in the spam folder because that's how email works. So in my welcome series, my first email or one of my first emails, simply the subject line was, can you help answer this? And that's a really intriguing subject line. And so it had a really high open rate. So people opened it. And then the email simply said, which one are you most interested in? And I gave them 3 buttons to click: strength, boxing, or CrossFit. And when they clicked one of those buttons, it told my email system what they wanted to hear about. So then automatically, by the power of magic, we would send them helpful, engaging, free, useful information about whatever they clicked. Let's say it was strength. And now they know me, they like me, they trust me because I'm providing content that shows that I'm an authority on that topic. And then when they're ready, they'll buy from me on Amazon or my website. I don't really care. And this is how I trust my competitors because they weren't doing this. They were just trying to chase the next sale on Amazon.
Mind-blowing.
Yeah, good one.
Definitely mind-blowing.
Good one.
I speak about that in the presentation I gave at the conferences this summer. If people go to, this is free, I'm not selling anything. If you go to benleonard.pro/tips, there's a little ebook and a 30-minute video of that presentation where you can see all the kind of coolest stuff I did with my first brand. Not selling anything, just go check it out. benleonard.pro/tips.
Amazing. Let's talk back about your Amazon journey. I'm always taking you back because it's interesting. Why you decided to expand your reach to other marketplace in Europe or Australia or the Middle East?
Because that's what people were telling me to do. That's what the customers wanted. So when I started in the UK, Amazon was fulfilling my products from the UK into the rest of Europe.
Yeah.
So, you know, Mario in Rome was buying my stuff and Hans in Dusseldorf was buying my stuff, but it was taking a couple of days to get there. So, and this was before the UK made the stupid decision to leave the EU. I turned on Pan EU. Now, it wasn't as easy as just pressing a button. You had to register for VAT in France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Poland, Czech Republic, And now also you have to do it in the Netherlands and Sweden. And it was not easy, like really hard, actually. And even to the point that you had to have translations done, but only by particular translators. And you had to have documents signed by special people called notaries. To get registered in Spain, I even had to find somebody who could stamp my certificate with like a medieval waxed seal. You know, the kind where you melt the wax and then stamp it? It
like
was
Game of Thrones.
Exactly like Game of Thrones. It was ridiculous. It was kind of funny. But what was wonderful about this was that because it was so much effort, my competitors didn't bother doing it. So when I went to the effort of doing it, I got into Europe and doubled my sales overnight. And so because it was like, imagine like a caveman has to like get over this really difficult, treacherous mountain path. But when they do it, on the other side is this lush valley full of resources. And that caveman and his tribe will win, and all the others will lose because they didn't bother to climb over the path. That's kind of how I see it. And so that's a valuable lesson I've always taken with me is if something's hard to do it because no one else can be bothered. And when you do it, you'll win. And so that's why I went to Europe. My customers wanted it, and I knew they're buying my stuff now. If I get into Europe and they can buy my stuff on Prime, then a lot of them will buy it. And I basically doubled my sales overnight.
Amazing. And now I'm going to be challenging you for the second time.
Okay.
Eddie, what's going on? What's going on today?
No, it's interesting because you said, okay, if it's difficult, I love it because my competitor won't do it. And I guess it will be my advantage. It's difficult to take your brand from the UK to US because it's much more competitive market, but you didn't do it. Why?
It seemed to me at the time, when I started in the UK, I've kind of explained why I started in the UK. I then went into Europe because I was literally getting sales from Europe.
Yeah.
So all I had to do was get my stock physically into Europe, and I knew it would blow up. It was like a guaranteed win. It was like I was Marty McFly in Back to the Future, and I had the sports almanac, and I knew what was going to happen, right? I knew because I was already getting sales. I wasn't already getting sales in the US. And so let me kind of put another angle on what I said before. I do think it's great to do hard things, but it's almost like this hard thing of getting into Europe was also, in a way, it was like a hard thing you had to do, and the prize at the end of it was the path of least resistance, because I was already being shown the way by the data. So at that time, it made sense to go into Europe. What I should have done and didn't was my next move was to go into Australia and the Middle East, because I wanted to be first there and then dominate. What I should have done at that time was go into the US, either in addition to or instead of, and I didn't. I do regret that. Having said that, not being in the US was quite a nice carrot on a stick for the buyer of the business.
Definitely.
Because there's a balance to be struck between having growth and showing that growth, but also having growth opportunity for a new owner of your business.
Ben, talk maybe a little bit about like, what's the difference in terms of like copy, photos, whatever, between selling in the UK, Europe, Australia, the Middle East, and so on?
Yeah, this is a really important point. And this is why I believe that human translators are still a bit better than AI translators.
Right.
And so you got to wind back the clock here, right? Every time I launched a product back then, we're talking, 2017, 18, 19. I was working with professional translators. Even though I was using translation tools to help me write simple copy, like things in instructions manuals, everything that was customer facing, like on my listings, in my email marketing, needed to be not just perfectly translated, but perfectly nuanced and written in a language and a way that spoke to the consumer personality of that country.
Right,
You don't just
exactly.
take an English listing and translate it into German. You take an English listing, you translate it into German, and then you tweak that to something that is going to really speak to your customer avatar in Germany. Because
So how do you know how to approach like the German consumers in difference to the UK? Because it's a different mentality, it's a different atmosphere, it's a different everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, when you work with a great translator, they will be able to do this. They will understand this. And if they don't, well, find one who does, move on. But you will probably have started to pick up on this yourself in your interactions with your customers. So in my experience, German customers are very technical and they pay a lot of attention to detail. And they're not very forgiving if something goes wrong. If something's great, they're happy, but they're not going to waste their time giving you a review. It's like, I paid 50 euros for it. It does what I want. Why would I waste my time giving you a review? I've got a life to live, go away. But if they're not happy, oh boy, do they leave a bad review quickly, right?
Yeah.
British customers are quite forgiving and will often let you resolve something. And then if you do, they'll, without you even asking, they'll change their review and make you, because they're very happy. French customers, I love France, by the way. I don't want anyone to get offended when I say this. I used to speak fantastic French. I need to improve my French now, actually. I love France, but their consumers tend to be quite borderline self-righteous and not very forgiving at all, a little bit entitled. I love Italian customers. Always found that they are absolutely fantastic, especially when they know that you're a small business run by like one guy on a laptop. They're great. And Spanish customers are similar, I think. So really understanding that helps you to then craft your copy in a way that is going to speak to your customers. So if Germans love technical stuff, highlight the technical detail. If Italians are quite emotive, use colorful, flowery language. You know, you get the idea.
Yeah. Cool.
Ben, let's talk about a bit about your selling your business, your exit.
Sure.
Reason to sell. Why did you do it? When did you think that you want to exit?
Yeah, I made the decision to sell in early 2019. I think it was around about the February. My wife was pregnant. We wanted to move house. I was aware that I was sitting on a valuable asset. I was reaching a crossroads with it where I could keep growing it or I could sell it. And you want to sell when you're on the up, when there's still gas in the tank. And for me as well, there's, as well as the kind of the quantitative side of when to sell, there's also the qualitative side or the more emotional side of when to sell. I was pretty tired, frankly. And also there's a phrase that was told to me when I was thinking about selling, which was this: you want to sell, yes, you want to sell on the up when you haven't reached the peak of the business growth, but you also want to time it to sell when you're at the peak of something else. And that thing is this: the point of peak romance. And let me explain what that means. It is the romantic notion, the romantic idea that this could be stratospheric, but it might not be. And so what that means is there's lots of potential in the business for you to tell a compelling story to a buyer. But at the same time, it might not reach that stratospheric potential for a variety of reasons. So if you sell at that point of peak romance, you're in a good position to negotiate a really good deal because the buyer is buying the future, that potential. But at the same time, if it doesn't reach that potential, then you've got out at a good time. And it made sense for me and my family to get out at that time. Now, then COVID happened. And if I'd sold my business 6 months later, I probably would have made double or even triple what I did. I still don't regret selling when I did because nobody saw that coming.
Yeah.
And you know, you can't live your life like that. You might get hit by a bus tomorrow. There's no point in worrying about it.
Sported equipment increased dramatically during the COVID, right?
Yes,
Sure.
it did. Yes. So, well, some did and some didn't. The stuff you can use at home increased in sales, and the stuff that you can only use in gyms decreased. Most of my equipment is possible to use at home. And so the business did do very well.
Without you?
Yes, so I had sold the business. All of the processes that I put in place were still working. And I was working closely with the buyer to keep everything going really nicely and help the earnouts get hit. And then after I stopped interacting with the buyer, and after they stopped implementing all the fantastic things I had done that made them want to buy the business in the first place, the wheels started to fall off. I see it all the time, and it baffles me. Why would you buy something and then stop doing all the things that made it good in the first place? And then they act surprised when the brand doesn't work anymore. It's kind of hilarious, really.
So Eli, I had this discussion at a conference in Tel Aviv now by Fortunate. So I saw them, Idan, I think was our second guest in the podcast.
Yeah.
So Idan was the first one that told me, listen carefully. Like, it was about 3 years ago, I believe. He always said to me, listen carefully. I'm telling you, those aggregators will eventually go to bankruptcy because they're purchasing the brand, but they don't have any knowledge, know-how, or nothing about what does it mean to selling on Amazon. And once they purchase a brand and they take the brand owner outside of the business, so what's now going to happen? And that's exactly what Ben described here now. And I think that's like, I'm not talking about like any company, but I'm talking about other aggregators. I think they have the same mindset, and it's just going to be like absolutely disaster eventually.
Yep.
So what are you doing next? Sold the business. What's now?
I sold the business. Yeah. What did I do next? I decided to start consulting. Was the first thing. Had a lot of knowledge to offer. I still do consult. I consult with sort of, individuals who run their business, but also private equity-backed brand portfolios who have realized that it's the guys on laptops that are better at e-commerce than they are. I co-own a sports brand now. I co-own a baby brand, which we have been developing our first product now for about 2 years, a highly technical product, and we're launching that on a Kickstarter late this year. And the other thing is, and this is a kind of classic entrepreneurial one, when I sold the business, the brokerage firm that I used made a catalog of errors, and one of them could have cost me $500,000.
Well,
we identified the issue, and my accountant and I fixed it. We got the deal done, and we said to each other, let's do a better job of this. So we founded ecombrokers.co.uk. So it's a brokerage firm. We help e-commerce business owners plan and execute their exit strategy. We're based in the UK, but we work all over the world. We have a deal director now in Chicago. And that's been great fun to kind of help other people experience their own success and exit the right way. And it's really a joy to see people come to us with a business, and then we'll work with them over a period of time to get it where it needs to be to sell, and then they sell it for life-changing money. It's great.
Sounds amazing. So that's what you're doing till today, right?
Sorry?
That's what you're doing today.
Yeah, all of those things. So I partner on everything that I do, right? So the sports brand, I don't run the day-to-day of it. I put in the starting capital, and I mentor my co-founder, and he runs the day-to-day. The baby brand, I've got a co-founder and an investor just coming in right now. The brokerage firm, there's 3 core members of the team, and then we leverage Allison, my co-founder, we leverage her accountancy firm's team of about 25 people to run the analysis. And yeah, I always work with other people. It's great. You identify your weaknesses and work with other people who are better than you. And that's my philosophy.
Sounds amazing. We are approaching to the end of the session, but it was super quick and super interesting. But I wanted to talk a bit about your book that you're writing now.
Yeah.
Discuss it before the episode.
Absolutely. Yeah. The book is, it's called Quit Stalling and Build Your Brand. And it's the book I wish I had when I started, or even if, even while I was running it. So it is it's a roadmap for anyone who has an idea and wants to turn it into a successful physical products brand in e-commerce. You could have not started yet, or you could already be doing 6 or 7 figures, but you're stuck and you need some help from someone who's been there. It's not one of those technical books that's like really detailed about one platform like Amazon and it's going to go out of date in a few months. It's based on timeless marketing principles. So my hope is people will still be getting value from it in 5 or 10 years. So yeah, it's called Quit Stalling Book. It's called Quit Stalling and Build Your Brand. And if people want to go to quitstallingbook.com, they can get on the waiting list. And actually, even better than that, if you go to quitstallingbook.com/Amazon Talk, you can get a free chapter and really cool free bonuses to get on the waiting list. And then the book comes out in a few months.
I will add the link in the description of this episode so you can click and get it. Nice. And I already read the free chapter and super, super interesting. I can't wait to read the whole book. And it should be ready on Q4.
Yeah, the release date is penciled in for October 10th. So I'm going to get a pre-publication copy to you guys late September is the plan. And yes. I'm really excited for it. And I can't wait for everyone to be able to enjoy it.
Amazing. So we have a question that we're asking all our hosts, all our guests. The same question for all the guests. The question is, what will you do with $10 million net if you will want them tomorrow?
Sure, absolutely. That's a very easy question. I would dump the majority of it into a fund for rewilding, environmental conservation and rewilding. And the rest of it, I would put under wealth management with experts who know what they're doing to grow that fund. Comes back to what I always say, right? Work with experts. If you're not an expert on something, work with those who are. It's always the best option. It's faster. It works out cheaper. So that's what I would do.
Faster and cheaper. That's what I always do. Always say, faster and cheaper. Pay more, get much better work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, cheap is expensive, and expensive is cheap.
Definitely. Right. Are you still based in the same small town in Scotland?
Almost. I'm in a small town in Scotland, but it's probably about 40 miles south of where I was before. So my parents are still there, and I'm in this other little town, a little former fishing town just south of Aberdeen.
Nice. Ben Leonard, thank you very much for your
thank you.
All the main insights that you share with us with our audience. It was super, super interesting. I'm going to hear this episode again, and I won't say I never do it.
Better listen to yourself. No.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys. Really enjoyed our chat. Yeah. I wish you good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.